Hello, and welcome to the Hannah Boy Center radio podcast. My name is Jim, and today's episode deals with outcome measures. I will be taking you through Hannah Boy Center, talking to the various people there, and find out exactly what outcome measures are and why are they important to Hannah Boy Center. My first stop today is in the admissions building, right at the entrance of Hannah Boy Center. And I'll be speaking with Monica Clark, CPA and Chief Financial Officer at Hannah Boy Center, who helped in the designing and the implementation of the outcome measures instrument for the boys of Hannah Center.
Of course.
All right, Monica, we're going to start right with the very basics of this whole thing. What the heck are outcome measures?
So outcome measures is an outcome-based evaluation tool utilized to measure the input, changes, and benefits that an organization provides for its clients.
Okay, but can you give me a little bit more about the information, why it's important?
Hannah Center keeps statistical data on all boys measured at admission and then again at discharge. What we have found is a substantial reduction in behavior and mental health problems among the student body, as well as a substantial increase in academic achievement.
So leaving Monica's office, I've decided that, okay, we scratched the surface, but all right, there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. So I think what we'll do is a little bit of a time warp. We'll take our typical young man, and we'll follow him through his years here, and we'll talk to the various people and see how these outcome measures work.
Dear Dr. Tim Norman, hello, my name is Tyrone, and I came and toured Archbishop Hannah High School. I now have an interest in enrolling into the program because I believe it will help me in many ways, such as my education, self-respect, career options, religion, and also just in everyday life. I am 15 years old. I live in Oakland, California with my grandmother. I've been living with her since 2005. My mother has been involved with drugs for most of my life, and our relationship is not good. I have never met my father. I have not been doing well in school lately, most of it due to some peer pressure. I have recently been in juvenile hall for 2 months. I recently met a pastor who referred me to Hannah Boy Center and also took me on a tour. The way I think Hannah can help me is that in the area of education, good life skills for the professional world of today. I believe that Hannah can help me with my issues at home, with my family, and most importantly, myself. I also believe that Hannah can help me find a relationship with God. I hope that I can participate in the program to live a better life and to keep it on track. Sincerely, Tyrone.
Tyrone and his grandmother, Keisha, came to the center for an interview with Mr. Richard Russell. He's the intake caseworker at Hannah Boy Center. Mr. Russell has been at the center for 25 years. He is the person who arranges, conducts, and notifies all prospective boys and parents about their applications to the center.
But they're not actually part of Hannah Boy Center. Do you have any questions about the spiritual aspects here that we do with the
Mr.
boys?
Russell also writes the initial treatment plan for each boy, which is based on the interview and the history of the boy. Mr. Russell interviewed Tyrone and his grandmother on March 19, 2009. At that time, Mr. Russell stated,
Tyrone is a somewhat typical young man wanting admission to Hannah Center to change the direction of his life.
Tyrone's grandmother, Keisha, also added,
I brought my grandson here today because I'm afraid he will end up in a very serious trouble if he does not make major changes in his life. He does not care about school, and he is hanging around with bad kids because he has no other friends.
Welcome, Tyrone. The boys and staff are excited about you joining the Mount Carmel
Tyrone
family.
was placed at Hannah Center on April 3rd, 2009. Here are some early observations from Melissa Gibson, caseworker at Hannah Boy Center.
Tyrone came in with a lot of things going on in his life that have caused him considerable trouble. This young man came into the program with a Global Assessment of Functioning Scale, GAF, of 45. This is serious symptoms including serious impairment in social or school functioning, few friends, manifest the inability to complete tasks. His initial goals are adjustment to the program, age-appropriate school adjustment, and age-appropriate socialization.
So in other words, he wasn't really doing well in school, and the program you have here, you're hoping he adjusts to with all the structure that you have.
Right, exactly.
So, just how does a boy who has trouble adjusting to his environment at home, school, and socially now become someone who is invested in changing his life? We turn to Dr. Tim Norman, Clinical Director at Hannah Center, and asked him this very important question.
Dr. Al Treishman, author of a foundation book in the area of residential treatment titled The Other 23 Hours, was a moving force in the newly born concept of residential treatment for emotionally disturbed adolescents back in the 60s. He died way too young, but the Treishman Center in Boston is still recognized as a premier research and training center in residential treatment. And I was privileged to spend a month with Al while he was doing research for his book and was collecting information at the San Francisco Boys Home where I worked, which is a center for such disturbed children in the heart of San Francisco. And his premise was simple but profound. Identify the behavior that is not working for the adolescent and replace that behavior with behavior that is more adaptive and positive. And this was accomplished primarily in the other 23 hours of the day other than the 1 hour of therapy. And in other words, it was Treishman's premise that the adolescent will more likely change due to his milieu rather than because of the 1 hour of therapy.
Obviously, the next question is, how is this done? For that, we go to Scott Singer, Chief of Operations.
Here at Hannah Center, we provide a structured and safe environment that helps each boy learn how to deal with rules and encourages him to improve his self-esteem. It takes time for teenagers to not only learn new skills, but to have these skills become pattern behavior that ultimately result in lifestyle changes.
Okay, Scott. Now can you give us some real-life examples of how that works at Hannah Center?
Sure, several. Starting with our cottage experience, we provide a consistent routine that the boys can count on. No longer an inconsistent, dysfunctional environment that many, if not all, have been accustomed to. It's an environment that is safe, and gone are the outside negative distractions. Our boys quickly learn the daily routine and structure, starting with rising and ending with night prayers. In the cottages, the boys learn how to take care of their personal hygiene needs, help with house jobs. They experience group where they can identify and express their feelings in an atmosphere of trust, participate in off-campus activities, have a daily study period, and experience many other basic group living skills. We also provide an active recreation program and offer, under the umbrella of Archbishop Hannah High School, we have the varsity high school teams and individual sports. Now, many of our boys are gifted athletes, but due to poor grades and lack of finances, they never were able to play on an organized sport until they came to Hannah. We also offer non-athletic activities such as vocational auto maintenance, a variety of recreational clubs, and we take our boys on both recreational and educational outings. Our boys have paid jobs in the kitchen, landscape, and general maintenance. The boys volunteer to read at Mass and help guide tours for our guests. Our Hannah helpers volunteer their services throughout the local community, and we have a very active student council and an honor committee that is a peer help program. To sum it up, our plan is to provide every possible ego resource to every boy at the center.
So Tyrone is now living in a residential setting that provides a structured environment, his milieu. But how does Tyrone live in this new and challenging environment? How does he know the rules? How does this benefit him? So let's follow Tyrone's adjustment and progress throughout his stay here at Hannah Center. I catch up with caseworker intern Brad LaBasse, and I ask him about this term I hear, TPR. Hello, Mr. LaBasse. How wondering, could I ask you a couple questions about TPRs?
Sure, take a seat. Well, a TPR is it's what's called a treatment plan and review for each boy. And essentially what we do is every week on Wednesday, the staff of each department meet in the office of the clinical director to review, modify, and update program goals for each boy in the program. It works out that each boy has a meeting about every 3 months.
And so exactly when you say staff from each department, who's in these meetings?
Well, it starts with the boy's caseworker being there, and then there's a representative from the cottage that they're in, a school representative, and our school counselor. Recreation specialist will be there.
And so you get input from all different areas of the boys?
Yeah, we like to get input from everybody just to see if everybody's seeing the same thing, and so every department has some feedback on what they see in the boy.
Looking into the schools part of this, I find out that in Tyrone's case, testing was requested and completed by Jane McClure, educational psychologist. Ms. McClure assesses Hannah residents who have been deemed in need of special education testing. She administers a Wechsler intelligence test for children, a Woodcock-Johnson achievement test, and a Nelson-Denny reading comprehension test. After summarizing the test results, Ms. McClure makes specific learning recommendations for the teachers and cottage staff related to the individual being assessed. As we move along in time, I catch up again with Melissa Gibson, Tyrone's original caseworker, and I ask about Tyrone's past goals and how, once he reaches them and accomplishes them, how they're changed with new ones.
Tyrone's adjustment at Hannah was at first erratic and not without problems. He's been suspended 3 times in his 4 years and had to face discipline review boards, DRBs.
What exactly is a DRB?
A DRB is a meeting that's held to determine if a boy can stay in the program. His last DRB was due to his stealing another boy's iPod. While the recommendation of the board was for Tyrone to return it, it was made clear to him that if he did this again, it would most likely result in his expulsion. Since that time, Tyrone has had no such behavior problems, and he's been involved in the Honor Committee.
The Honor Committee? What the heck is the Honor Committee? I ask one of the boys.
The mission of the Honor Committee here at Hannah Boys Center is to help prevent suspensions and expulsions and to ensure the safety among all the boys.
To help you out. And this is pretty much your chance now to turn it around for what you did wrong.
Through the use of our time warp, we have skipped forward through 15 TPR meetings to Tyrone's last meeting prior to his graduation. And Melissa Gibson tells us,
the 15 TPR meetings for Tyrone have focused on his goals in social, academic, and behavioral areas. As goals are completed, new goals replace the old ones, all in the direction of helping Tyrone improve all aspects of his life. While the questions in the outcome measures instrument give us a clear picture of the progress of each boy from admission to graduation, the most beneficial outcome is that these measures are used as a guideline for development of goals and objectives for each and every boy. The idea is that as the boy addresses his problem areas and achieves his goals, he grows nearer to his graduation and completion of the program.
With Tyrone coming near the end of his stay at Hannah, I start to wonder, what if he wants to go on and continue school or college, or becoming that productive member in society in the work world possibly? So I talked to Brooke Davis, the manager of the Hannah Center Follow-On Care Department.
Tyrone has decided that he would like to attend the industrial arts program offered at the Santa Rosa Community College with a specialization in welding. He has taken the English and math placement tests and has been assessed as capable of entry-level classes in each of these areas. His grades make him eligible for the Short Doyle financial support. He'll be living with 3 Hannah classmates and continuing his job at the Sonoma Big 3 restaurant.
Melissa Gibson presents the post-test of the Outcome Measures Questionnaire to Dr. Norman. Dr. Norman has this to say about the Outcome Measures instrument.
Well, yeah, this tool is the guiding determinant for the treatment of each boy residing at Hannah Center. The various indices are used as the baseline for a boy coming into the program, and then as benchmarks of progress throughout his placement. In the TPR meetings, it is these indices that provide scorable goals and objectives. And as the boy's placement at the center continues, his goals change and reflect the growth that he's accomplished. So if he comes in and usually his first goal is going to be adjustment to program, because that's going to take quite a bit of work on his part. But as time goes on, with the various things, especially mental health issues, we focus a lot on those. What does he need? We help him with self-esteem. Just a small example, but very profound. At lunchtime, we have a tremendous athletic program, and I've seen boys that came in never playing baseball play wiffle ball, and because of the good feelings they get from their teammates and everybody that's out there watching it, they'll end up going out for the baseball team. So you can see how his self-esteem has gone from in the dumps to moving up the ladder to where we would hope it would be by the time he graduates.
Now, in Tyrone's case, it seems like there are big differences in the measures from when he first came in and the ones that you look at now. Now, I've heard this before, but what does it mean when something is statistically significant?
Well, okay, good question. In statistics, a result that is statistically significant is one that is unlikely to have occurred by chance alone. So when comparing changes in a client's behavior or other scores from admission to discharge, it is important to know whether the change is such that it is unlikely to have occurred on its own, i.e. that the change was more likely due to the services received while in treatment.
Very good. Thank you for all your time, Dr. Norman.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well, there you have it. Not only does Hannah Boys Center provide a place where troubled, motivated youth can become productive members of society through faith, education, and caring, but they have the numbers and the measurements to back it up. Thank you for listening to this Hannah radio broadcast. I'm Jim, and I'm tuning out.